everyone, welcome to Living La Vita Loca podcast, a retro ranking podcast for some of your retro ranking needs. My name is Faz.
And I'm not prepared.
Mr. Not Prepared.
I have not opened these sheets of paper since you put them through my letterbox.
Oh, that's such a nerdy thing that you've just said out loud on the internet that I posted some spreadsheets.
You posted spreadsheets at me.
Posted audits for your for a recreational sport, a recreational activity that we do together as fun.
It's meant to be a nice hobby. You are
exactly. It's nice.
Spreadsheets at me.
It's nice. I posted spreadsheets through the letterbox to you. That's a nice thing to do. That is it. That's what friends are for.
It's thoughtful in a way.
Yeah, don't tell the employer that I stole four sheets of A3 paper.
I mean, I've had worse hate mail.
Yeah. Hi everyone. This is our annual retro.
Audit session.
Our retro review session. I've been really looking forward to this. Again, like a nerd. Not that I've not been paying attention to my work all day or anything, but I have had my mind drift every so often to thinking about talking about video games all night.
Right.
But with my friend, and
when's he turning up?
I always find this one really fun. This is our third time of doing it. So
am I looking at the wrong sheet? I am.
You're looking at the next podcast sheet. I mean, you can try and use that if you want to.
No, that's all right.
That's the one the one that really could have done with going down to the colour print room, but I would have felt a bit wanky going to Mr. Printman and saying, "Can you print my recreational?"
There's that.
Can you print my recreational video game spreadsheet in colour, please? I think I probably would get sat for that. So, anyway, so we are going to go through all the games that we have reviewed this year in each score bracket from 0 to 10. Always explain the numbers, and we will try our best between us. I guess cooperatively, local motor player, and try and come to a decision of which we think, from listening to each other, hopefully, and also the people that have been on the podcast with us, which we think of those games is the best, but also with our opinion as well. And it's all freaking subjective. So we will offend people who, some of these games will be the best games ever, and we might have put it in the wrong category. Some of these might be really low. Some of them might be well high and you go crazy. I mean, I think I remember like Night Trap finding itself into 8 out of 10 last year somehow.
Oh, yeah.
I think there was regrets about that. So, these are the things that we like to do for fun. Shall I say what happened last year?
Sorry, are we auditing last year's audit?
I think just very quickly to go through the kind of scores and games that we would go 0 to 10 out of.
Right, okay.
So, our 0 out of 10 game, and this is going upwards, last year was Carmageddon 64. 1 out of 10, Dead or Alive Paradise on the PSP. 2 out of 10 was the original Street Fighter. 3 out of 10 was Crazy Taxi Fair Wars on the PSP. 4 out of 10 was International Track and Field on the Game Boy, which is something only the other day I was recommended to somebody. Retro Gamer Dan on Instagram, he was saying he'd put International Track and Field up, and he said the PS1. And I was like, "Oh, it looks amazing." I was like, "Have you played the Game Boy version?" He was like, "No." And I was like, "You should really try it." It's our 4 out of 10 game of the year from 2024. I didn't say that, but 5 out of 10 Trapang Squared. 6 out of 10 Killzone Liberation. 7 out of 10 Odin Sphere Leatherizer. 8 out of 10 Final Fantasy 6. 9 out of 10 was Half Minute Hero on the PSP, and 10 out of 10 was Thank Goodness You're Here. Which, again, I want to get a shout out for that at the moment, because I know there's a lot of people on Instagram circles that I kind of speak to that are doing it's called hashtag the saved file, I think it is, and everybody's playing Thank Goodness You're Here in this month, and I've seen about 30 people playing it, and that's great. Nice. Because I remember you saying last year that you were like, it wasn't getting any pop in the game of the year awards, for example, because it wouldn't do, probably because of the type of game it is. But it's great to see there's been people playing all around the world this game, all about being Yorkshire.
Excellent.
People sitting in bins and tiny pies. So they were our games last year. Very quickly, our average score issued last year was 6.64. What do you think it was this year? Oh no! Wait! Oh, fucked it. That was this year.
Right.
Last year was
6.64.
Ding 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 ding! Hey. It was 6.64 this year. 6.95 last year. So we were a little bit happier the year before, or maybe nicer.
Story of my life.
Yeah, that scale is sliding. Which decade do you think we reviewed the most? I've covered my notes up now.
Oh God, which decade?
Last year we reviewed the most games in the 2010s. Which decade do you think this year we reviewed the most games in?
Looking at this, maybe the noughties?
The noughties is correct, yeah. 36% of our games are from the noughties. And that's why I once described us as a millennial gaming podcast, and Fiona was almost sick. So,
I mean, it's not inaccurate. Though.
Yeah. Our longest episode this year. Now, I've got two here, because one of them you weren't on. Which just shows you who's got the control over the actual timings of these situations.
It's not this one.
Self-control. No, yeah, not this one. No. So Pokemon Stadium with Paddy Gunn. We did an hour and 44. I won't lie. I think about 4 minutes of that was him trying to control his children in bed. So that might be why that kind of got leaked out a little bit. One that you were on there was the first Uncharted one recently, an hour and 35 minutes. We'll try and wrap under that today. We went 2 hours on this one last year, so we'll try and get an hour and a half.
2 hours. Of
2 hours of auditing.
Jesus.
God, so good. I was short.
I am sorry, everyone. I am sorry.
I'm really not. Sydney, this is your own fault. Our shortest episode was episode 107, Worms and Killer Frequency. So Worms Armageddon.
Right.
Only 33 minutes. So
so we can do it.
Yeah. And if I tell you that one of those games got 10 out of 10
Yeah.
to review as well. So, it can be wrapped up. And lastly then, before we get into all the games then, so our worst 5 performing in terms of listens episodes and best 5 performing episodes in terms of listens. So far this year, our worst performing, 138 South Park, Chef's Love Shack, and Batsugun, which I'm sure you'll be, paying you to hear about that. But
it's hardly a surprise.
Then my MetaQuest vodcast that I did just when you were on holiday for a week, and I was like, I'm just going to try and do a vodcast. And I mean, 30 listens, or watches, or I don't really know. A bit of a weird one. Yeah, exactly. Spotify data went mental today. Like, as I was trying to take some stats down, all of a sudden it just spiked out of nowhere. It was really useful. Episode 128 that did actually get fucked by the algorithm because it just didn't work for about a week and a half. I had to reissue it. Prince of Persia, Lost Crown, and the Kung Fu. We were talking about one of those, in the high end and one of them in the low end. And then Tekken 8 and Res Infinite and Fantavision, they didn't get very good listens, which... Tekken 8, does that speak to the things that are wrong with Tekken 8? Or
yeah, I'm hardly surprised by that. Other much better qualified than I people will have much more informed views. So if anybody that actually wanted to know about it would have gone elsewhere, and they would have gone a damn sight sooner after it came out and after updates came out.
Been more angry about it somewhere else.
Yeah. If you want rage, go somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, Res Infinite and Fantavision both from 2000, 2001 as well. So it's they're of their time. Best 5 episodes though, and this is what I really want to get onto. And this isn't meant to be so much navel gazing that I'm like, oh, this is amazing for us and things. It's just more that a celebratory sort of thing, as because whilst we put ourselves down quite a bit, I'm sure there are some listeners out of the little pocket listeners that we have that do like us and quite happy when we do pretty well.
Surprised you're turning up. Yeah. Well done. Well done.
So yeah, thank you for the people that have listened to all these episodes. So we had 2 episodes that went over 100 listens this year, and that makes only 2 out of 3 in total. So episode 114, building a PS Vita collection, the top 100 Vita games. So we used that magazine. That was really useful. We got 109 listens on that. One that I definitely want to shout out was today, just turned 100 listens today, which was Mass Effect, the Legendary Edition, which Fiona, your wife, took upon herself to
just sorted it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
organised us. Just so thanks, Fiona. So that was 3 whole games, 3 whole reviews in 90 minutes. Very impressive. 100 listens. Hitman World of Assassination, Agent 47, 99 listens. Dude, just lost out by 1 to Mass Effect, to Commander Shepard. But he did a pretty good job. Well done, Agent 47. The 127th episode, which is the most excited I've ever been in my entire life, which probably speaks about a lot. The PSP European launch 20th anniversary edition, 86 listens. And then one which I think we'll come on to quite a bit in terms of the conversation. So episode 125, and this probably speaks to, we didn't give great reviews on all these, but one did get a really good review. Metal Gear Solid, Peace Walker, Portable Ops, as you put plops, and Metal Gear Solid digital novel. So very well listened to. So I think there's 2 Metal Gear Solid oriented podcast episodes in our top 10 ever. So people like Metal Gear Solid.
That's interesting.
Who knew?
Who knew?
So here we are. Thank you for listening to all that crap at the start. 10 minutes, tucked it in. Let's go. Right, we're going to go all the way from 0 up to 10. We're going to. I think that we'll get through the first ones quite quickly. We're going to try and pick out the best game in each bracket from what we know from our reviews and what we spoke about previously. There is a system that we can use to help that, which is the...
You're pointing at me, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I am pointing at you. The Mulligan system. Mulligan. Still haven't got a sound drop for that. The Mulligan system, where we can take one game and move it wherever we like on this ranking, either up or down. Last year, you chose to move Antstream Arcade down from 7 to 6, which feels like a real good use of the Mulligan system.
I stand by that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I moved Link's Awakening up from 7 to 9 to have a go at the 9 bracket. I felt like we'd probably end up with a bit too low on that one. Anyway, so that's where we are with it. We've got a Mulligan that we can use at any point. We can move any game. Might be a bit pissy if we move someone else's game they don't want to happen, but we'll see what happens. I've got nothing fucking planned for any of this. Normally, I'll be really organised and think about it. I've not even looked at this shit either, and I've had it in my bag for like 2 weeks. So, the 0 out of 10 category: Sword of Sedan on Mega Drive versus South Park on the PlayStation 1.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even technically review South Park. I played it for about an hour. I decided it was one of the worst games in my entire life, and you insisted that we should put something into the 0 bracket to take on Sword of Sedan. Yeah. Do we even need to talk about this for any length of time whatsoever?
It's 0. Who cares?
I think that that isn't. We have to have a bottom feeder of all the games.
We do.
I'm going to say right now, the South Park PS1 game is genuinely just thoroughly awful. Has stayed awful, and I can't believe how bad that is. But I don't really think it's fair that I didn't do a review for it, whereas you spent some time wasting your time.
Not really.
Thoroughly wasting your time. I think it was like at least 12 minutes. Talking about Sword of Sedan. I think that should be... You said it left you feeling nothing, was I think the review you said at the time.
It's not a great game, but then South Park is like legendarily bad.
Oh.
I guess Sword of Sedan's not exactly legendarily great. But personally, I would have 0 problem giving it to South Park.
Yeah, I mean...
I know how terrible it is.
It sits with, not that this should affect it, but the fact that we gave Carmageddon 64 a 0 out of 10 last year, to give another... I mean, it obviously ended on PlayStation 1, but it started on N64 game of a similar ilk that people know is shit. I think maybe,
I think that's your...
Awesome.
We'll call it a winner.
Yeah, didn't even get reviewed. South Park, 0 out of 10. Game of the year. Right, let's blast on to the 1 out of 10 games. So, Fantavision on the PS2. Pimp My Ride on the PSP. Dave Mirra's BMX Challenge, which you noted as Door Handle, and we'll come back to that in a second, on the PSP, and the Kung Fu on the PC Engine. If I've got any of these wrong, by the way, just doesn't matter. No one gives a shit. Just if it's randomly on a different console, just shout it out. So, actual games in this one, and games that probably do a better job, certainly in the last 2. 3 of those are mine. 1 of those is yours. The Kung Fu. Does that feel quite Sword of Sedan-y? It's
it's not a million miles removed. It's definitely more. I would argue it's more accomplished in terms of how it looks, and the problem is that it kind of gets bogged down in how it looks, and it plays like I do not know what. It's cheap. It's stodgy. I did not have a nice time with it.
Fair enough. I mean, I think you said it looked like Bruce Lee, didn't you? Is in very much. It sounds like Bruce Lee's.
It's definitely like cashing in on
brother.
That kind of thing. And you play it and you're like, yeah, but I could be playing Streets of Rage or something like that. And I mean, granted, when it first came out, you wouldn't have been sat there doing that. But it was just it wasn't a fun time.
No. For what it is worth for me, then Dave Murray's BMX Challenge. Do you know why we call it? Well, I mentioned it as a door handle. Do you remember why that was?
No, I don't. No.
I think I said that even a door handle functions.
Oh.
But it's
Yeah.
not. But door handles aren't fun. Like,
Got you.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that it was actually enjoyable. Like, I see door handles, I use door handles. Much like Dave Murray's BMX Challenge for the PSP. So it wasn't broken. It was just, soul searching, not destroying.
Existed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Pimp My Ride. I felt seedy and awful, and that game was. Oh my god, that game! I just I felt like I feel like if it fallen into a black hole and popped out in this universe of Pimp City, I would just end it there. I couldn't survive there more than like 3 or 4 seconds. Yeah, I'd just see it and go, no, I'm fine, thank you. Fantavision, fun but really frustrating. I remember like being just really kind of stuck on Fantavision and not having enough guidance on that to be able to go right. You can feel like it's one of the first games on the PlayStation 2. Like it just feels like such a tech demo, without any of the trimmings to be able to tell you what to do. And I really struggled with that, and that made me quite angry. The actual concept was quite fun. So, considering all that, my vote would be for Fantavision. But
I'd go with that. I'd go along with that.
I'm not going to die on a hill about that.
No.
I think Fantavision. I think because that was a free play fortnightly. I think you gave it a 1 based on my review. I probably would have given it a 2 personally, and that's where it would have been. I think that would have been the right place for it. So therefore, being the best 1 out of 10 game that we reviewed in 2025. Yeah, cool, awesome sauce. Well done, Fantavision. You can't go wrong with fireworks, or you can. It's a 1 out of 10 game. So the 2 out of 10 games. Chase the Express on the PlayStation 1, Pokemon Stadium on the Nintendo Switch Online, and Chef's Love Shack on the PlayStation 1. I reviewed all 3 of these games, so this is a Faz-centric bracket. Before I kind of dive in on them, is there anything that you remember from anything? I mean, you didn't hear the Pokemon Stadium one because you weren't there, but Pokemon Stadium 2 is higher up and further away.
Yeah, I spotted it lurking down there, and I played it a fair bit back in the day and enjoyed it. I mean, I was really invested in Pokemon at the time, and it was a novelty to be able to play the Game Boy cartridge and stuff like that. Chef's Love Shack, I still have very, very fond memories of playing that solo and that like weirdly existential crisis you end up going through where you are literally the only person there.
I think the fact that I did that as well in this playthrough made me feel more kinship with you.
It's character building is what it is. So yeah, in fact, I'm dangerously close to using a mulligan.
What? No way, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Have you looked at the rest of the sheet where it's important?
Yeah.
Why'd you waste your mulligans?
I'm not wasting it. I'm moving Chef's Love Shack up to 4.
What?
I'm moving Chef's Love Shack up.
Oh my god, 4's going to be so funny because what's in 4's bracket is like, I'm sorry, if that's got a chance of winning 4 out of 10, I'm going to fucking hit the roof. Like, it's like, and of course we'll discuss that, with our therapy. Wow, okay, fair enough. Bye-bye, Chef's Love Shack. So like these 2 games in 2 out of 10, Chase the Express and Pokemon Stadium.
Oh, Pokemon Stadium then.
Well, you say that. Chase the Express, it's like a Rent a Cop sort of. It again, like Leon Kennedy's like, weird little brother got sent to Ukraine on a train, like it's in, and it's all tank controls and stuff. But yeah, it's such a rip off on all the Resident Evil puzzles and the way that you move and it looks. But it's just really, really sad. If we're going to be honest, you feel like you get snagged on the environment all the time. The idea of like the concept of the game and the storyline is pretty good, but the characters are awful. Like, as in Jack Morton is possibly the least, like the person I feel the least affinity with in the entire world. And I was draining baths to get a key that I was like, who drains a fucking bath to get a key? And so now I know that probably happens in Resident Evil at some point. But I'm like, who's going in the presidential suite in a train and going, I know where the fucking key is. Like it's in that bath there.
President keeping a key in his bath.
Yeah, no, well, yeah,
Huh.
yeah. So yeah, I can't abide by it. You're probably right. I think Pokemon Stadium 1 wins. The reason that's in 2 out of 10 is because it's as at the moment I played on Nintendo Switch Online, and the functionality of it, because you cannot trade your Pokemon into the game or whatever you do, transfer even, you can only use a stock Pokemon, and the stock Pokemon are useful to a certain extent, except when you get higher up the cups and you get towards sort of 7th or 8th trainer you're facing against, you need to have been able to have trained your Pokemon to a certain level. Rhyhorn and Wigglytuff were owning my butt, like as in, you know, like, and I was there trying to give them everything. I was using every sort of Pokemon, but they were just heavy hitters, and so there was a certain ceiling on that one,
right?
And the reason Pokemon Stadium 2 got away with it and is higher up is because you could actually get further with the stock Pokemon in the game. There was more stock Pokemon, and there's more going on in the background as well, around the stadiums and stuff graphically, and also just, you know, there's a bit more happening. So yeah. But I'm absolutely fine with Pokemon Stadium being there. I'm not saying that Pokemon Stadium 2 won't win higher up looking at the brackets it's in, and that could be the case. I think it probably won't looking at that one. That's in the elephant in the room bracket, as I'm calling that, the 6 out of 10. We'll get there later. So 2 out of 10, Pokemon Stadium.
Cool.
Awesome sauce. 3 out of 10, we have PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale on the PS Vita. That was a shared review by both of us. Skullgirls Second Encore, which I put on Steam. I think you both played that, you and Hakers. And again, that was a shared review. Gallico Squash on the Evercade from yourself. Jackass the game on the PSP from me. Flow, which I played on the PS Vita, and that was as part of the Journey. Was that Journey Collectors? I think it's the collector's edition, but I kind of just split them out and played them separately because I had them separately. And Choaniki, which is the what do I call it? Titular fleshy shoot 'em up with lots of
fleshy shoot 'em up is not a million miles removed.
That is so accurate. That is, and if you've not heard that podcast or seen Choaniki on the PlayStation 1, fleshy schmootin' is definitely accurate. So where to begin there? I was going to say undressing that one, but again, that's too close to the Choaniki.
Already turned up without a shirt on.
I don't know. I've got no love for PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Like, you know, it's
it just sort of existed, didn't it? And it's not Smash Bros.
Yeah, that might be the most accomplished game in that bracket there, I think. That is, and you think that all the rest of them, maybe Skullgirls as well.
Sorry, I think Skullgirls is probably personally, I would argue that Skullgirls is more accomplished in terms of like mechanical depth.
Yeah.
PlayStation All Stars, you know, has something approaching 3D graphics and stuff like that. But like the art style in Skullgirls, you know, it's distinct and
that's true.
That. So like,
it's an artistic game, definitely.
Yeah.
But so is Choaniki with men nipples.
Well,
so,
this is the thing. I think for me personally, it's going to come down to Skullgirls or Choaniki, and I think Choaniki is just tipping it at the post because I have not played anything like it before or since, and I keep like going back to it and just being like, this is just so endearingly insane.
It's like the adult Katamari Damacy. That is what I see. It's almost like, I don't know, almost like, you know, I was always confused by Katamari Damacy reroll last year, and I was sort of saying like, it's just like my brain couldn't quite get around it. I feel like this is like the adult version of it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't
think it was so much
not the same game, obviously, but just like
there's just something like, if we're talking distinctive art styles and distinctive ways that you put your game together, you know, you take the kind of digitized people like you get in Mortal Kombat, put it in a shmup, and basically everybody's a bodybuilder who has turned up in just their pants.
Yeah,
and you're
you
getting
say
close.
it like that. How can you argue?
But the twist on it is how deranged some of the enemy designs get.
Yeah,
and it just kind of ends up like, again, kind of like with Chef's Love Shack, you end up with this weird horror aspect to it that just comes out of nowhere. That's very much living in your own head, but is nonetheless there. And yeah, like that. I'm always a sucker for games that have alternative reads on them like that.
Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said for. We didn't mention this at the time because we didn't see it till afterwards. But the same podcast the podcast pair that we did when you and Hake was reviewing Skullgirls, you reviewed Gallico Squash, and I'm sure in the background detailing of the squash court, they'd drawn a topless woman into this game, which is,
I think originally, yeah, but it wasn't in the Evercade version. I think
for a sports game, like in just what
Spanish one. I don't know.
It's really hot in the squash court.
It's
just it's fucking mental to think that was just like, oh, we're just gonna let that fly.
Squash, keep you interested.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So I was just thinking, does that have a run in it versus Choroniki for that reason? But probably not.
I'm not going to elevate a squash game because it's got a topless pixelated woman in the back.
I wasn't expecting that to be the case. I'm just saying, that's it. That is a thing.
No, give me my pixelated bodybuilders.
Yeah, I mean, even Jackass's nakedness probably doesn't have enough to stand up against Choroniki.
Those dudes worked out.
Yeah. I mean, Jackass is quite a funny one in this group because it was really. I'm going to come on to this probably more in some of the games later on as well. It was all about attitude, trimmings, and vibes. It felt like you were actually playing Jackass, the TV show, effectively, and you were just controlling it. And they did it, and they made that clear. That's what the whole concept was. You were the director, and you were making them do these stunts. Were they great? The stunts? You could tell that they were I guess co-written by the people that were stars of the show. So there would have been ideas that they could just never do because they'd fucking perish. But in terms of as a concept and the actual how much the games interested you, not great, but everything else was really good. So I understand the reviews at the time were probably better than what I gave it, but at the same time I think that this feels fair now, 3 out of 10. If I was going to take any of these games that I would be interested in looking at again, I think I'd be terrified of Skullgirls, completely bored by PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale, probably the Squash. Flow, I just didn't and then you're going to hear this a lot tonight from me. Video games as an art form, and you hear this all the time, and I'm like, fuck off. Flow was like that one. That was that first one where I'm like, oh, this. Check this game out, and it's very conceptual, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. Can I just have the bodybuilder's pants, please, to shoot people with, and the weird protrusions they have that look like things we shouldn't talk about. Yeah, I'm happy with Choroniki being the 3 out of 10 game of the year.
Cool,
awesome. Oh, throwing pen at you, brilliant. That's just getting me ready for later on fighting talk, pen flings. Right, so we start to get a bit more serious now, because. We start to get to the point where I think that we don't have to defend ourselves on our own podcast. If people want to listen, that's fine. But we've definitely got things in the next few brackets going upwards towards the top end that I think people would see as a derogatory score for that game.
Yeah.
And they might not even get the best game in that bracket, depending on how we're feeling about it. So
there's a lot of games.
Yeah. So that's 4 out of 10 then. Immediately, Need for Speed Underground 2. That is on the GameCube that you played that. I feel like there might be a few people going, better take a breath in on that one. New Star Tennis, that was reviewed by Hakers, and I think the consensus on that was actually that New Star Football or Soccer was better. That was pretty much at the end of that, and I think he spoke about that more than anything. Little Tales of Alexandria, a extremely forgettable game in the grand scheme of things, considering it's a Game Boy demake thing that you could tell me about maybe on the Evercade, I believe it was, or was it?
Yeah, it wasn't even a demake. It was made for the Game Boy, popped up on the Evercade, but it's like a very, very short adventure game that, if I remember rightly from the review, I'm not even entirely sure I fully grasped what was going on, but it kind of felt vaguely poetic.
Yeah.
And so you kind of constantly have that feeling of, have I missed something here? And in that respect, it's a memorable experience. And you can sit down, you can play it in a lunchtime, let alone an evening or anything like that. So to go back to what you were just saying about video games as art, it feels to me like it kind of falls into that kind of a bracket.
Yeah. Okay. Big hitter in this one. Considering that I think a lot of people would question this. I think, you know, and listening to your review about it, I think it's fair. That, you know, it's definitely not what it used to be and what people think about it. Metal Gear Solid on the Peace Walker on the PSP. But you played the 360 version, did you?
Yeah,
think? Yeah.
Glad I did.
Yeah.
That second analog stick was a lot of heavy lifting.
And Polybius on the PS4. Again, that's probably, I guess, compared to general consensus, a little bit low for a Jeff Minter shooter. But I think you said, again, didn't really get it.
Partly that, but I mean, I didn't do
This is mostly your bracket, actually, looking at it, isn't it?
Well,
is there anything from me here? No. These are all you. These are all
me
yours.
and Hakers.
You and Hakers, brilliant. Sit back.
I played it in the wrong place, basically. So I was playing it on my Steam Deck. So the smallest screen I could play it on. You know, you sitting there mucking about with it, and you're like, yeah, this definitely kind of needs to be on VR. Like, it's cool that I can play it like this, but yeah, so much stuff was just getting lost in the shuffle, and it was very, very difficult to pass what was going on.
Yeah.
Lot of visual clutter. It's if you're making a shoot 'em up, it kind of needs to be clean to read it, and this was very difficult to get my head around. And of course, lest we forget, Chef's Love Shack is now in the mix.
I'm trying to. I don't know what you're doing. It's my response to this one. So, I assume that you've brought that into wage war against other things, or are you just immediately assuming that? So, I always like to do these sentences just to see how they fit on you.
Right.
So, here we go. This is a sentence you're going to say out of your mouth in a second. I believe that Chef's Love Shack is a better game than Need for Speed Underground 2. Or a better 4 out of 10 game.
Chef's Love Shack is endearingly broken, I think. Like, and again, what made me think to put it up here is Little Tales of Alexandria. Actually, because I thought, you know what,
if I said that with such disdain.
Well, if I'm
actually Faz,
if I'm playing the video games as art card, and there is some value to having these things that you can have an alternative read on. People will take different messages from it, different things. Having Chef's Love Shack, where it's a game show, but you're playing it on your own with 3 empty desks and all that kind of stuff. Like, it just feels like it could be tantalizingly close to elevating itself to video games art territory on its day. But, however, that is a very, very charitable reading. I will give you that. So no, I'm not going to pitch for this to be the best game in this category by any stretch of the imagination. However, I do think when taken as a intriguing pseudo-artistic experience that has stayed with me to this day, it's as good as Little Tales of Alexandria. And if Little Tales of Alexandria is going to be 4 out of 10, then damn it, I think Chef's Love Shack should be
fair.
2.
That's really fair. I think you've talked yourself, well into that. I'm happy with it being here. Welcome to the club. And also, yeah, you're right. I probably didn't give enough credit, I think, at the time, Chef's Love Shack, because I sort of said it felt like it was aimed at the wrong audience, like the question set and things like that. But actually, when have Matt Stone and Trey Parker ever been wrong with what they're aiming at? Do you know what I mean? I think, like, they always seem to be. Even back then, would they? Would they have got it wrong? Is it just me that's wrong? Because the record shows that they're always right, as far as I'm concerned.
They've made more money doing this sort of thing than you have.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it is a work of art, and just I didn't know. Peace Walker.
Yeah.
So considering what I said at the start, and that being one of the most listened to podcasts of the year, and Underground 2 was no slouch either. Early on in #DriveJanuary, look out for that in a couple of weeks' time. I'm not saying they're necessarily. I mean, again, I don't think New Star Tennis has really got much of a chance here. I mean, I still talk about 4 out of 10s here. They just speak to me as being the biggest talking points of being in this bracket. I have no issue with them being in this bracket. I have no issue if they don't win this bracket. But looking at the other games, I feel like they're the ones, if I'm going to be honest with, from the reviews that we spoke about, that you maybe say have the most about them.
Yeah, if this is the best or most noteworthy in each of these score brackets, Peace Walker is easily, it's a walk-in win.
But it's not that. I guess that's why I didn't want to lean on that too much, because I was a bit like, oh, look at these two big hitters. Maybe we should pander to the audience. I'm not saying we do that. I'm just saying that I think that maybe they're probably the better games. If anything, I would say, again, I'm going to try this sentence on for size. If I was going to sit down and enjoy myself, I'd rather play Underground 2 than I would Peace Walker. End of sentence. That's how I feel, and I love Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, but it depends how far through Underground 2 you are. Like, if you are
deep underground,
if you're starting out with a fucking shitty Golf with no like upgrades or anything like that, it's not a fun time. And it's like, it's not a fun time like Gran Turismo 4 or something like that. You know, where
it's not a fun time.
Trying to hurtle around a noteworthy motorsport circuit at like 30 mile an hour is weirdly entertaining. I think in terms of influence and what it's gone on to help spawn, I think Peace Walker gets the nod, because I think mechanically it kind of got its tendrils into the wider series.
Yeah, well, absolutely. It was, like in terms of the base, base system and stuff.
Yeah, and the mission structure and all that kind of, and that's where I'm coming from. I think in terms of influence, granted within its own series, but like, I think Peace Walker probably gets the nod from me.
Which is weird, because it is funny that, and it took to this point for me to think about it, and I think that that's the thing that kind of breaks Peace Walker a bit for me, and Portable Ops and stuff, that I see Hideo Kojima doing his things where everything's a long story form, an art form, and because they've tried to crunch everything onto a PSP in a way that to make it go, right, this is going to work, we're going to get Metal Gear Solid on PSP, and I moaned all the way back at Metal Gear Acid. It was like, oh, they can do it, but there's only a certain way they can do it, which is with this mission system.
Yeah,
that's gone on to live a really long life in the Metal Gear Solid verse.
Yeah,
and some people quite like it. I feel like it kind of detracts from the series for me personally, and that's why I'm happy with it being down here. But
yeah, and
that's just me.
But I think for me, Peace Walker is the start. Like, Metal Gear Solid 5, maybe not perfected the approach, but like, in terms of systems upon systems upon systems, Metal Gear Solid 5 is a pretty good example of it. So I think, Peace Walker is not going to be the one that I'm going to play. If I feel like doing little quick dip in and out missions on a Metal Gear Solid game, I'm going to 5.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? It's just that perfected the Peace Walker, didn't it, really? So, no, fair enough. Cool. So, Peace Walker, 4 out of 10. Game of the year for us. Shock. So, 5 out of 10. The categories always start to get chunky now, because we're not stupid. We're not here to play shit games and not have a good time. So, we will play shit games and not have a good time for fun sometimes. But, we generally try and play games that we're going to enjoy. So, 5 out of 10. This is where we tip into, this is just about a recommendation. Like, we would recommend that you can still play these video games. If I say any of these in this list and you feel like that isn't the case, it probably won't be the one that's going to win. Formula 1 Championship Edition on the PlayStation 3. Grand Mountain Adventure on the Switch. Cliff Diving, which is the augmented reality on the PS Vita. Tekken 8 on the PS5. Killer Frequency on the PlayStation 4. Notably not played on a VR headset, which was a massive detraction for me, much like you were saying with Polybius.
Yeah.
Red Dead Revolver on the PlayStation 2. Atomfall on the Xbox Series S. Batman on the Mega Drive. Jet Set Radio on the PS... Was it? Oh, put PS Vita. But then what did you play?
Yeah, it was my PlayStation TV.
PlayStation TV, yes, it was Vita, yeah.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops on the PSP. Super Locomotive on the Mega Drive Mini. Exit, which is a puzzle game, don't get that confused with Exit 8 later on, excuse me, on the PSP. Uncharted Drake's Fortune, which was played on the Uncharted special podcast, and that was part of the Nathan Drake collection, so I've put PlayStation 4. And Raiden 5, a really recent one, Director's Cut on the Nintendo Switch. We're going to start losing some darlings. That's how it works, you know what I mean? But we've been pretty good. We've been pretty good so far in the last 2 years we've done this. Is there anything there immediately speaks to you and you go, nah, fuck off?
Quite a few of them.
Yeah.
I can tell you which one I'm immediately gravitating towards for getting the nod for this category, though.
Okay.
Because one jumped right out at me.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Let me try and guess that one. Batman?
Nearly.
Oh, shit.
That was a very close second.
Oh, right. Okay. Is it? Are you going to Super Locomotive?
You're damn right. I'm going to Super Locomotive. Like, which is the only one in that list that isn't like anything else?
yeah. It's true. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think
apart from cliff diving, actually.
That's got something about it.
That feels like a kind of a very glorified tech demo.
Okay. So Super Locomotive then, was that like, I remember me having bad dreams about muscly trains, maybe.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Was a bit freaky. Was that something that was meant, it was slated to be made in the 80s, but then it didn't get made till
like the early 90s or something like that, and then got canned at the 11th hour.
Yeah.
And then when M2 bought the Mega Drive Minis out, spruced it up and included it. So it's like a kind of long lost sort of early arcade thing. And in terms of like early arcade Mega Drive-y games, I enjoyed that as much as I've enjoyed things like Flicky. That's probably a good example for that sort of era. And yeah, like, it is not going to set the world on fire.
Well, that's why it's in the 5 out of 10 category.
It's out in the 5 out of 10. But like,
excuse me,
there is definitely something fun and fast and frantic about it. And yeah, it's distinctive. It's bright. It's colourful. You need to sit there with your eyes doing that thing like chameleons do, where they're looking in two different directions at once. But yeah, it's
Did it have two screens? Is that, sorry?
It's got like a kind of top-down view and a horizontal view.
Yeah, okay.
One above the other, and you basically need to keep tabs on both.
Yeah.
In order to succeed.
Okay.
Batman nearly got the nod from me because, like, in terms of movie tie-ins and all that kind of stuff, it's pretty successful. It looks good. It sounds good. It's quite short, and once you realise that you can double jump, it goes a hell of a lot easier. Believe me.
Oh.
So that was frustrating, but I had a cartridge-only copy, and I never bothered looking up the manual, so that's completely my own fault. So yeah, I think those would probably be the ones that I would pick out.
Okay.
Tekken 8, I think, is still in a kind of a little bit of a funk. It's got some interesting characters going since we last talked about it. But
define interesting.
Armored King's back.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
So, that's something at least. But
just pouring a pink lemonade out.
Got a pink lemonade for Tekken 8.
The phase of, we're in this festive season, and pink lemonade. That's where we're at.
I think what's going to be interesting about Tekken 8 is Harada's just leaving the company and all that kind of stuff after like 30 years of producing and working on these things. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens as things get handed over and new people sort of step up. So yeah, I do wonder if it's going to be a little bit designed by committee. Yeah, and I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or not.
Okay.
But that's pure speculation. I've no idea what is happening in Namco Towers these days, or anything like that. So
that's why it's lodged firmly in the middle of the list again.
It's why it's lodged there. And I was kind of umming and ahhing about using a mulligan to move it, but then I realised that I wouldn't really be moving it very far.
Okay.
I've not picked it up too much since. I still dip in occasionally, like it's fun, but it's not like, it doesn't feel like it's the kind of thing that I want to invest significant time into.
Yeah, fair enough. I haven't even thought about my mulligan. I forgot about that. I need to abuse my power later. So I'm totally down with Super Locomotive being, up there, certainly. And Batman too. I know when I enjoy listening to the reviews. That is, I shouldn't have said it.
When I don't have an actively terrible time.
But then you kind of, you get the vibe of, I can tell that you're having a good time with this game, even if it's down here on this section. Like, so you kind of get, whereas I would hope that you kind of detected, for example, when I played, I don't know, Atomfall or Red Dead Revolver, that there was just too many kind of like funks or kinks in those games that are a bit like to stop me from having actual fun. Yeah. Like, as in, so knowing they were a well-made game, but to have, if I'm going to say what I had the most fun with on this list, again, Uncharted Drake's Fortune. Looking back on it now, even just a few weeks, and thinking about where we scored the other ones and where we played the other ones, and we'll come to them later on. Like, I genuinely found it just a grind, a bit like Fiona described it as. It was just, you get some fun out of it, but not as much as, say, that you probably did with Super Locomotive. I really enjoyed Grand Mountain Adventure on the Switch, which there's a sequel that's come out, recently, sort of not long after me playing that one. Yeah, I know these are kind of obscure games and stuff, but it's quite nice to champion these sort of little games that people maybe haven't played or heard of before. That started off as an iOS game and became a Switch game, and it's really fun. It's like, the little sort of a little world that you're playing in, and you're just doing, little tricks and stunts down this mountain that you've got to control with the analog sticks. Yeah, and it's pretty good. Do you know what I mean? And I'd have no issues with that being up there. One that feels like quite a big one in here, as well as Uncharted, obviously, is like Jet Set Radio, for example. I think a lot of people would speak to that and say,
yeah,
that's one of their favorite games. Like, it's certainly like a Dreamcast, for example. That is in, I know you played the PS Vita, the PlayStation TV version.
I see where that comes from. I genuinely do, and it's got some great swagger to it. But it was just the controls, and the mechanics, and especially having played like the sort of Tony Hawk stuff, and getting a feel for that kind of fluidity. I just couldn't get past that muscle memory of trying to play it like a Tony Hawk's game rather than playing it for its own game. So I definitely put its failings down to me rather than it. But I love the art style, love the music and all that kind of stuff. It was just the actual mechanics of playing it I wasn't a huge fan of.
Fair enough. And I think that everything else on the list, Red Dead Revolver, just a lot of jank. I honestly, no problem with me whatsoever to go with Super Locomotive. It speaks to us, as our podcast speaks to us as people who would like the video games, to have a failed Sega Mega Drive game that came back on the Mega Drive Mini, and is about trains and needs 2 screens, would be our 5 out of 10 game of the year.
But it's also exactly the kind of game that, were we not doing something like this, I probably wouldn't have given the time of day.
Exactly.
Anyway, I would have played it for 10 minutes and gone like, okay, cool, fine, what a novelty that was. Rather than sitting and actually trying to get to grips with it a little bit. So I think that's getting the nod.
I know from the feeling in my diaphragm right now, that feels like the right feeling. Right. So, okay, 6 out of 10. I referred this to as the elephant in the room section before. There's a couple of really quite games that people would say are possibly their favourite games of all time and definitely don't deserve to be down here. Again, we're not here to answer to that, but we probably will as we're talking about the games anyway. So, all the way back in January, you played 18 Wheel Pro Trucker on the GameCube, which is an arcade port. And I played Daytona USA 2001, again an arcade port onto the Dreamcast. Formula 1, the PlayStation 1 version, which was, I think, like the 95, 96 version. Didn't have a number on it. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, which I found, more engaging than PlayStation All-Stars brawling. Open Me on the PS Vita, again, another unique AR video game that you played and you were quite happy with and said it had stuff going on. Shadow of the Colossus on the PlayStation 4 regularly is rammed down my throat by people that this is one of the best games ever made, one of the best pieces of art ever made, and it makes me angry every time that I hear that. So we'll talk about that in a little while. I need to process those feelings, clearly. Sega Bass Fishing on the Steam Deck. Did you play that?
I did. Yeah, yes.
Cool. Yeah. And you seem to quite enjoy that. Flower, which is part of the Journey Collector's Edition on the PS Vita for me. Back to the Future, the game on Xbox 360. And I played that with I played it and then reviewed it with my wife Sally, and thoroughly enjoyed that. Pokemon Stadium 2, as spoken about before, which was when we had Paddy Gunn on the podcast. Infected on the PSP, that I played for Halloween. Resident Evil 2 remake for the PlayStation 4 that you played for Halloween. And again, I think people might balk at hearing that in 6 out of 10. And then Danmaku Unlimited 3 on the Nintendo Switch. Any thoughts, feelings immediately coming out to you about just anything to do with those games?
Resident Evil 2 remake, I will stand by being down here. I absolutely see why somebody would rank it considerably higher. I genuinely really genuinely do. Also, like I spent more time with it than a lot of other games on this list, and I kept going back to it. And there's got to be something to be said for that. Like it plays perfectly well. It's just that it felt like there was some of the charm had gone in the transition, and as much as anything, it's just the gore, the squeamishness on my part, call it what you will, like maybe not even squeamishness. I've got a reasonably high gore tolerance threshold in stuff. It's just that it takes something away from it. Like when it's so upfront, I don't want to say it's gratuitous because it does kind of have a point in the story, but like really, like it leaves nothing to the imagination.
Yeah,
and,
I think you remember saying that now.
And I'd like to think that, you know, see also me talking about Chef's Love Shack and Little Tales of Alexandria. I kind of like it when things are left up to my imagination and my interpretation, and I can bring something to the party. It helps make me feel involved somehow. And it never really felt like it did that for me. However, like if that is what you're into, I think this is probably one of the best examples of the genre that you can probably pick up. So like it still absolutely remains a recommendation. Shadow of the Colossus, I am still surprised is down here.
Well, if we talk about that, so at the time I really bagged on a lot of things about it. And then, but to be honest, and then I didn't mean to be so mean to it. In my head, I had it as 8 out of 10.
Right.
You gave it 6, judged, I think correctly, probably on what my feelings are about it. The more I think about it, the more I'm happy that it is sat in here, because for the same reasons, not the exact same reasons, sorry, but in the same vein of, I understand that, you know, the PlayStation 2 version, the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 4 version, like this game seems to be so evocative for so many people. It left me feeling nothing. Like which
is not great.
No,
it's not great. And like, whereas it did make me feel something, and I still see it as a distinct experience. See, also me talking about Chef's Love Shack and Little Tales of Alexandria, and I find value in that. If you don't, I can see why it would leave you.
You are broken.
No. I can see why it would leave you cold because it's trying to be evocative, and if it's not doing that, it's not likely to, land with you. So yeah, I could see why it wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea.
I think that out of the 100 people you ask in the street that have played this game, for example, 95 of them would, have it up much higher than this. I genuinely know that I am in the 5 of people that is, and I'm okay with that. That's fine. Like, as in, there's nothing about it that made me kind of want to go back and reassess that or anything. There's nothing about the game that made me feel like that was what I wanted. But I understand that it would be probably higher up for every single other people. But if it sounds stupid, but I felt more playing Infected on the PSP than I did playing Shadow of the Colossus, which sounds stupid, but
funnily enough, though, because I was about to say there are 3 games on this list for 6 out of 10 that are jumping out at me, right? And they are 18-Wheeler Pro Trucker, Daytona USA, and Sega Bass Fishing.
Yeah.
Now, you put a Sega arcade game from that kind of period in front of me, and I think that is going to be so evocative. It's going to make me feel stuff. It's going to hit me right in the nostalgia gland. And yeah, I kind of want to give it to Daytona.
Yeah. My issue with Daytona, and this is the reason it was down in 6 out of 10, because I've said previously on the podcast that one of the things I'd love in my house, if I could afford it, would be a 4-seat Daytona. Just pissing my kids off playing Daytona in the car. Like, they should be into that, and I'm like, no, and I'm not. Just there, just blast it out. So I'd love it. I think there was even a joke that, we could wheel me away to my funeral in, a Daytona, like arcade coffin. Like, it was a 2001 version on the Dreamcast playing, and it was a fine port. I just there was probably some shine came off it sitting at home on a home console that just kind of like, and that was the only thing that kind of felt like, there wasn't. And it was quite, and it sounds, you should never mark game down for having a difficulty sort of spike and things like that, but it wasn't easy to get on the Championship Edition to get to the next level of being able to qualify for the next races. Like, I probably need to sit and spend more time with it, really. That said, though, all the things we've just mentioned prior to me just, having that conversation there, like, and the way it makes you feel, like, I feel way more about that than I do about Shadow of the Colossus, for example.
Yeah, I think that's
fair. I don't mind that. Do you know what I mean? And that was, it sounds stupid, but like the way I think is that I've played like 4 or 5 hours of Resident Evil 2 Remake, and I enjoyed my 5 hours with, in fact, the jackass of zombie. You know what I mean? The typing of zombie games is what makes me happy.
Campy ridiculous.
Yes, exactly. Because the apocalypse is campy ridiculous to me. Like, I would be running around like a maniac, just laughing my head off. Like, what else are you gonna do? So yeah, that's where I feel about it. I'd be happy enough with Daytona being the 6th. Cool, awesome, perfect. Right, we're doing well here. We're not too bad for time. So let's move into some bigger brackets to really celebrate that. So we're here at 7 out of 10 then. Rich, tell me all about these games. So, Sega Rally on the Saturn, Gran Turismo on the PSP, Tecmo Bowl on the NES, Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name on the PlayStation 5, a game from this year. Well, no, it's not, but whatever. Resistance Resistance Retribution on the PSP and PS Plus, Sly Cooper HD on the PS Vita, Doom 2016 on the Xbox, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remaster from this year on the PS5, Fatal Fury City of the Wolves on Steam Deck, again released this year, Virtua Tennis 4 World Tour on the PS Vita, Mafia Definitive Edition on the PSC, played on the Xbox. We kind of shared that review in the end, really, because I brought it to the table and you were like, oh, I played it too, and you played Mafia too. We'll talk about in a little while. Medal of Honor Airborne on the PlayStation 3, Ghostwire Tokyo on the Steam Deck, Andro Dunos 2 on the Nintendo Switch, Eartheon on the Steam Deck, and Thunder Force 4 on the Mega Drive. So, which of those is speaking to you and rising to the top, or is there any stuff like chaff at the bottom you're like, I don't want to see that ever again?
Well, I mean,
even though it's a 7 out of 10 game.
To be honest with you, this is another one of those bits where I was like, I could use my mulligan here, and I was, do I move Like a Dragon? Do I move Doom? Do I move Thunder Force 4? Blah, 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 blah. No, let's just use it on Chef's Love Chef.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Rightly so.
Well, I don't see
Look, that game moved up 2 places. We had it. It's been the game, much like when we did this first time round, and Ace Attorney was spoken about and never won the bracket. Chef's Love Shack has been spoken about quite a lot this time.
Exactly.
And bracket.
Sega Rally, Sega Rally was one of my first gaming loves in the arcade, and the Saturn version it's still great, but it's just not as great.
Yeah, okay.
Tecmo Bowl is the American football game that I've played most. I think the Super Bowl version is better.
Yeah. We will come on to that.
I have a soft spot for this one. Like a Dragon Gaiden, it's good. I'll always like those games. This one's just kind of shorter and sweeter than a lot of the other ones. Ghostwire Tokyo has definitely stuck with me. So I think for me, this bracket boils down to like Ghostwire Tokyo or my favorite Doom of all time.
Oh, the 2016 version is your favorite Doom of all time?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think you probably said that at the time as well, maybe.
Quite possibly.
Think back to it. Yeah. I mean, I think did I give Doom the score, or maybe you gave? No, I think I brought it as a free play. I think you scored it, but that was definitely the score I had in my mind about it. I felt it just. It obviously, again, we keep on saying this. It's the 7 out of 10 bracket. We think 7 out of 10 is a very good score for a video game, the way that we judge them, and it is a very good video game. I felt like it just dragged on a bit. I felt like it was like 21 hours long, and I think
don't play Doom Eternal.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, and that's been another 10 hours, isn't it? And I'm like, for a first-person shooter, like, which is obviously with a massive twist and caveat on that in terms of it plays differently, and in this circumstance, it's certainly much more of what a first-person brawler, if you will, as well. Isn't it? So
funny you saying that. Like I ran out of free plays this year, But I was going to do I have notes ready to go on Doom the Dark Ages
Okay,
at
cool.
some point.
Good.
Which, if you think Doom 2016 is a first-person brawler, then
Yeah.
oh boy,
But that's my favourite part about Doom 2016, though. If I'm going to be honest, that is in.
Yeah.
I'd rather just have the fisticuffs.
So it would, so Doom the Dark Ages would probably
be the sweet spot.
Be a sweet spot for you.
Yeah.
For me, less so.
Okay.
But we can save that for another day.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, I think personally it's gonna go to. I would give it to Doom or Ghostwire Tokyo. Ghostwire Tokyo, like in terms of atmosphere, style, visuals, I've again not played anything like it, and that is always going to give you a big advantage for me in these lists.
Yeah.
So I think I would probably give it to Ghostwire Tokyo on balance, but that is a very close run thing.
That feels like your Trepang squared of this year. Like, is it?
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's not far off. It's I think it's better than Trepang.
Okay,
personally,
which is good because that's kind of definitely bore out over time.
Yeah, but it's distinctive. It's got a vibe that I haven't come across terribly often in things, and I think there is great value in that.
Okay, cool. I'm going to put my elect forward. I think that if I was going to put anything up against Ghostwire Tokyo, it would be Virtua Tennis 4 World Tour on the PS Vita. I don't think I've played a better sports game on a handheld console. I loved all the modes on there, and I just thought that it felt so intuitive to be able to play a game of tennis and at a high enough level, and enjoy myself in the right snack bites that they kind of snack bites that they were issuing the game in. That there was some confusion around the ticket system of me flying around the world tour part of it, but all the little mini games are so much fun as well. And again, it is that Sega sort of, like we just said about the previous games in the 6 out of 10 bracket. It's just fun. It's just always fun. And I was I want to say shocked. Shocked's probably a strong word, but certainly very surprised at how much I was like, oh, how much of a complete game this is. And then to learn that they've never really done any virtual tennises since then, considering how good that version is. So there's that. And then Sly Cooper, again, played on the PS Vita. The HD version. I really enjoyed that. I thought it just felt like such an adult platformer. And I think it worked really well on the handheld. Which is funny because it's quite a cartoonish sort of childish game. But again, I'm thinking like Daxter on the PSP and stuff. To see that down, and I'm not going to use Mulligan on it. I might even use a Mulligan here. We'll have to see how we get on. That is in, but you maybe I'll lend you mine if you want to move something else. That is in, but I do think it's a 7 out of 10 game in our standards and stuff. But it's a very good one. If I look at the next bracket up, do I move it up into 8? Look at the games that are in there. I don't think I do, but I do think it's at the top end of these ones, with your Dooms and your Ghostwire Tokyos. So they're the two that I would kind of like shove in your face like a big Greg's pasty and say, "Have this." So
right,
yeah, have it. Is anything I say there make you feel any differently, or are you really kind of struck on Ghostwire Tokyo? I'm going to be honest. I wasn't as moved by your review of that one as I was other reviews that you've done.
Yeah, which is fair.
Is it? You don't have to say that out loud.
No, that is completely fair.
Reviewing a review.
But the difference between the review and now is time.
Okay.
And Ghostwire Tokyo has proven to me how memorable it is and how much it's stayed with me. Because even just sitting here now talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that bit and that bit and that bit and that bit. And yeah, I think there is something to be said for that.
It looks like it worked really well as a VR game. No, I mean, like, in with a lot of the powers and stuff. I watched the trailer of it after you reviewed it. Not completely contradictory to what I just said, but actually, no, I did listen to you, and it did sound interesting and different and unique, and so I did go back and watch what it was about.
But the thing with it is that the combat does feel a little bit weak sauce.
Okay.
but to look at it and to kind of be in that world, it's great. And that you could tell the sort of old school Resident Evil atmospheric vibes were there, because of the production team's sort of pedigree and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it's something that I'm kind of surprised that I've not seen kind of really blossoming into a bit of a franchise. Like I can imagine that a second game might nail the combat, or an anime could work really, really well if they managed to keep that atmosphere, or like you say, a VR experience of some kind. But it felt like the start of something that hasn't necessarily come to fruition. And that's not like it ended a story on a cliffhanger or anything like that. It just, like, if somebody announced tomorrow, oh, we're doing a Ghostwire,
I was going to say,
or something like
that.
The
way that they've named the game makes it immediately
it
think
feels
there's going
like
to be
it's
something
a
next.
franchise, right? And if they turned around tomorrow and said that they were putting a new one out, I'm like, great, let's have it. What are you doing? Cool, let's have a look. And I kind of love it for that. Like, it's definitely retained my interest, I think, is the point I'm trying to make.
Okay.
In response to the ones that you've mentioned, I've never played a Sly Cooper game.
Okay.
So I have zero frame of reference here.
It's difficult.
So
I mean, it's the only one I've played as well. But I guess the thing that I immediately, that knowing how big the backlog is and what you want to do for the podcast, keep it interesting, things like that. That was the first thing I sort of said after that was I can see myself playing another Sly Cooper game quite quickly and reviewing it on the podcast because it was that good, and I've heard the second one's even better. That was the thing that kind of like made me. That's what I felt. So that was just an overriding memory of mine, really. And then I guess the virtual tennis sort of thing was almost that. I never really got. I don't think I've ever reviewed a sports game on this podcast higher necessarily, apart from a Tony Hawk's game, than a 6 or a 7. Like 7 feels like the cap out of where an actual sports game sits. It almost feels like it's a sports game and a simulation management game as well, all at once, with all the fun Sega stupidness as well. And that's probably what spoke to me the most. I was like, oh yeah, like I'm running after ducks and shit, and stupid stuff like that. But that's kind of where, again, I just felt both of those games felt really fun to me.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
but I'm going to be honest. That is I can see the look in your eye when you're speaking about Ghostwire Protocol, Ghostwire Tokyo right now. Almost that, and this is when we get up to these bigger brackets at the top here, where we've got more games, and also where we start getting a bit more emotional about these. I guess what you call inverted commas better games. It's probably a gut feeling, and my gut feeling is that you really, really like this game, and you look like you're talking about you'd like it to have a future.
I would like it to have a future. Actually, I genuinely really would like this the sort of series to run and run and run. I want to see what else they do with it. But
whereas I could go to sleep tonight and not be thinking that about Sly Cooper and Virtual Tennis 4.
Well, what I was going to say was like,
was that a lie? Am I lying to myself there? I would.
Well, that's the thing. It almost sounded a little bit like you were saying similar stuff about Sly Cooper.
Yeah, maybe.
I
am lying to try and be a good friend. But
no, what I was going to say was like Virtua Tennis. I have played a bit of, so I do see where you're coming from, and it would kind of mean that I don't have to choose between Ghostwire Tokyo and Doom 2016. So I'm kind of inclined to give it to Virtua Tennis 4.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I would be really happy with that. Like, as in, I think that I do think it is the best handheld sports game I've played. Maybe Championship Manager on the PSP was really good, but this works really well. I mean, and they did try, and not necessarily unsuccessfully. Integrate some Vita features in there as well, with like the swipe games and stuff, and they threw everything at that game, and it was like, wow, there's a lot here. So yeah, okay, cool, we'll go with that. Honorable mentions to Ghostwire Tokyo, Doom,
absolutely,
and Sly Cooper. Cool, awesome, right? 8 out of 10. This is always our biggest fucking bracket. Like, for some reason, we just like always seem to have the most in here, and it's funny because I did genuinely. I looked at this like once, and that was this morning, And I was like, right, I'm just going to have a little look at the 8 out of 10 because I know that it always gets massive. And I looked at it and I thought, God, there's so many good games in here. So, Dirt Rally 2.0. EA Sports World Rally Championship, the most recent version, and that's also the 2024 DLC. And the Dirt Rally also had the DLC attached to it as well. Wreckfest for the PS4, so you've kind of got 3 of our Drive January darlings there. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Switch. Doki Doki Literature Club Plus for the PS4. Bloodborne for the PS4. Which has a PAL later on, which we'll talk about too. Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition for the Xbox One. Mass Effect Legendary Edition, as we spoke about at the start. That's now got 100 listens, a very well-loved series. And I remember, actually, and I'm going to speak about this in a second, about Jack, who is going to have a little word for us towards the end of the podcast about a game that he reviewed earlier on in the year, our friend. River City Ransom for the NES that he played. Batman Arkham Asylum, a second Batman game this year that I played. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, the most recent release on the Xbox Series S. Journey as a single game, 8 out of 10. Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast. I played the PSP version, you played the PS2 version, and we kind of came as a collective together on 8 out of 10. This one we're going to discount, but I just want to give a shout out to Bairdy and Aaron, who came to the podcast again while you were away in Japan. We went to Arcade Club and we reviewed that in 2025 in Leeds. And yeah, had a really nice time. And we, there's lots of different things there now, and we'll probably keep on coming back to that. To have an incredible arcade setup, for a very reasonable price on our doorstep. We're very, very lucky to have that.
Yeah.
I know you visited yourself this year, didn't you? I think you took yourself off. Did you take yourself off 1 or 2 times there to go and?
Did I?
Yeah, I think didn't you go by yourself and you kind of went to just offer people out on fighting games in the top floor?
Yeah, I can't remember if that was this year or last year though. What year is it?
Yeah, what year is it? Mafia 2 Definitive Edition on the PC. The Exit 8 played on Steam, which is by yourself, and that was after you'd been on your Japanese sojourn. Echo Chrome on the PSP. And then we hit Uncharted 2 Among Thieves on the PS4. Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception on the PS4. Uncharted Lost Legacy on the PS4/PS5. Darius Gaiden on the Sega Saturn. And Crimson Clover World Explosion on the Nintendo Switch. That is a spicy meatball, if I'm going to be honest. I looked at this and I just thought, how do we do this? Because there's just so many good video games in this bracket.
Yeah, there are a lot of good ones. But
do we take the shit ones out?
No, I think for me there's 1 or 2 bubbling to the surface straight off the bat. I do not think this is a difficult list.
I don't. You're just so functional.
Well, most of these aren't ones I reviewed. For one thing, that helps. They're mainly yours. But also,
okay, maybe yeah.
All right. So the Uncharted's are very, very good. Are they top of the bracket? No. Darius Gaiden, I will always have a soft spot for it, but it is an acquired taste. Is it top of the bracket? No. Crimson Clover, C above.
Yeah.
The Exit 8, C above. The racing games, again, very, very good. Wreckfest, you can get cheap as chips. Would absolutely recommend. Dirt Rally 2.0 would also highly, highly recommend. So for me, it's going to come down to River City Ransom, Mass Effect, Bloodborne, or Smash Bros.
Right. Hold on. Let me just take note of them then. So Bloodborne, Smash Bros, River City Ransom, and Tony Hawk's was it you said there? Did you? What did you even say? River City Ransom, Bloodborne, and Smash Bros. Yeah. Did you say? Mass Effect. Sorry. Right. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I was like, and Tony Hawk's right, and you said Tony Hawk's right. No, that's no. Right. Okay. So let's do what you've just done with. So I can get rid of Echo Chrome. I think.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, all these games we've said these are excellent video games. That doesn't matter. They're going right. Okay. I don't think that. Again, so crushing PlayStation artistic darlings. Playing Journey in 2025 when you only really bump into one other person to kind of climb up the mountain with and things.
Yeah, that's not great.
But I get that way. I got Journey way more than I got Shadow of Colossus. If that helps quantify my previous conversations, I got Journey. That made way more sense to me as an artistic form. Again, it's not going to be in the top lot of these games. I don't think. You don't think that you'd have any of the driving games as possible as any of these, even though they're
not as
good.
top ones. Sleeping
Fine.
Dogs would possibly get a shout, but I think that would be the only one.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So, I think that the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, absolutely, but 4's not strong enough for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, they've done a good job with it, but it's not strong enough, and it's not strong enough in the first place. I don't think it's a bad game, but 3 is significantly better, and therefore it's dragged down by 4. That's out of my thinking. I think that, whilst you said that all the Uncharted games may be out at the top, I think Lost Legacy is. And I remember when we reviewed at the time that you and Fiona sort of 7, I said 9. I think that it's a really, really, really good Uncharted game, and probably the second best Uncharted game for me personally. So I want to keep that just kind of in the conversation for a little while. Outrun, Coast to Coast. Again, I think we kind of came at an 8. Is it my? I'm not fussed about necessarily keeping it in there near the top. I totally understand that like some people's favorite game ever, favorite racing game, favorite driving game ever. Totally get it. I don't feel, funnily enough, as much about it as I did about Daytona all the way down. Do you know what I mean?
There's no nostalgia there or anything like that.
So that I'm okay without that. That leaves in for me then to add to your lists, which I'm completely down with. Smash Bros, Bloodborne, Doki Doki Literature Club Plus stays in for me, hanging on by its teeth. Sleeping Dogs does stay in for me, and Batman Arkham Asylum, and then Uncharted Lost Legacy as well were the kind of ones that I would say rose to the top of that list. So there's still like 8.
Yeah. All right. Let's start whittling then. I am going to take Bloodborne out.
Okay.
I'm going to kill my darlings and take Bloodborne out. Because it's, again, like I've said about so many of these, I keep playing this card, like it stays with you. It is an experience that is lingering. But I just don't have the heart or the patience to get good anymore.
So I think I remember specifically you saying that you were too well trained at fighting games, were you, to deal with something or other?
To say well trained.
Yeah, but
like there's some of the way I was trying to play it. Did not, like, it was clear the game wasn't willing to be flexible. That's fine. I completely understand that. But even when I was playing it through the first time and I was trying to like grind it out and play it on its terms, and when I was, well into the Dark Souls stuff and all that, even towards the end of it, I was trying to just run through as much of it as I could. And I deliberately squandered my chances to sort of get the sort of big boss ending because I was just tired.
Yeah.
I was just exhausted. And it was too many of these games, too much of it in too short a space of time. And it was just too much. So I think like Bloodborne will always be the one that, is the straw that breaks the camel's back for me. But the opening area or two, incredibly memorable, gorgeous to look at, still is. But yeah, I don't, ultimately at the end of the day, I don't love it as much as I want to.
Whilst you were talking,
I
was totally concentrating on what you were saying. No, so like, I think that I was thinking as well that what was percolating in my mind was Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, one and done. That is in once you've done it once, it'll lose everything. That one time is special. Go away and play that game. Absolutely. There is no longevity in that game though. That is, and you'll feel something about it, and it'll feel great, but then it'll go and pass. So yeah, I think that's out for me. That leaves then so far. We didn't mention Mafia 2, but I've not played it. You played that?
Yeah.
But, I remember you saving some porno mags from a fire, maybe.
That's about right.
If that's a highlight, then that's probably out.
That was actually genuinely a highlight, by the way. Can also confirm, was not worth it.
So Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition, I think that's probably the one that I would pair up almost with Batman Arkham Asylum and think which one of those should knock each other out to be in the conversation at the end.
I think I would be inclined to keep Sleeping Dogs and ditch Arkham Asylum.
That's what my gut's telling me too.
Just because, personally, I will always prefer Arkham City to Asylum. Asylum's great, but I just personally prefer City.
Fair enough. As much as I do love Uncharted Lost Legacy, there are a few bits towards the end where it kind of reverts to almost like folds underneath itself to trying back to being Uncharted 4 again, and that's just kind of like nagging away at my head. I do love Chloe Fraser though, and that it's a great little game. But okay, I don't have the love over loads of years for that. Maybe if I'd played that 10 years ago and still loved it, then fair enough. So that leaves us with 4 then.
Right.
River City Ransom, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So basically, everything is an Ultimate Edition apart from River City Ransom.
Yeah.
Does that mean River City Ransom wins? Because it's just legitimately good by itself. It hasn't had to get polished over years.
I will always fly the flag for River City Ransom.
I almost got River City Girls over there in the sale. I saw
I do it. I've again, notes ready to go. I will be talking about it at some point.
I'm going to buy it.
It's a good time.
He's still using my credit card for sale items.
Does River City Ransom belong at the top of this list though?
You can tell. You can tell me that.
I don't think so. I love it dearly. I really do, but I think it should come out because I think that. Like Mass Effect, you cannot knock the sheer amount of game there is in the Legendary Edition. And again, you're talking lingering experiences. You know, I still talk about what my Commander Shepard did in like 2009 and stuff like that. Sleeping Dogs, it's my favorite Grand Theft Auto. Actually, that's not true. But it's up there.
The interactivity on the streets is really, really fun. I
love it.
And it is like it has the right. It sounds silly, but the right amount of the right amount of icons on a map, like to go and do stuff.
It feels manageable.
The right amount of manageable distractions and stuff. So I didn't go and do a single side mission, and I still enjoyed that game. Do you know what I mean? Like, I could have gone to do 3 or 4 of them, but I didn't need to. The only thing that kind of like, I guess it whites down the 8 out of 10s was almost like, the bit where it was like, where you were jumping between cars, and that was a really odd sort of thing. Like, it was like tantamount to Driver San Francisco. Like, just because you weren't jumping into someone else's body. There were a few bits where I was like, okay, we've made that decision. I see. Like, and I don't think the story was necessarily the strongest. It felt quite telegraphed to me. I think you said that you disagreed with that, but certainly for me personally, I felt like it was a bit like rote. Almost.
No, I don't think that's an unfair criticism.
The irony being that I'm gonna have to say at this point, I know that Super Smash Bros. Is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But if I am thinking about story, for example, I think, and this is obviously probably very easily with the last 3 that we've got left there, Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Listening to when Fiona spoke about that, I've never touched Mass Effect for a minute, but I know how many people love Mass Effect. And I remember, this is what I want to speak about, Jack sort of saying that whilst he's got a game later on, he's going to speak from the heart from it. We've got a voice note from him. He said that Mass Effect 2 was his favourite game ever. And Sleeping Dogs, great game, really fun, really a breath of fresh air in that sort of Grand Theft Auto open worldness. If that had a great story, I would put that up there.
That would be up there.
I feel like Mass Effect and Smash Bros. Not really having a very good story mode at all, when I feel like that's the last piece of the puzzle that they should really fucking sort out. And then I would be, ultimately happy for Smash Bros. Ultimate. I feel like Mass Effect Legendary Edition is just too much of a heavy gravitational pull to be taken down by anything.
So.
Even the Uncharted games earlier on.
I was just about to go to bat for Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Okay.
But I do agree with what you were just saying.
Yeah.
And Smash Bros is weird because it feels like a constant. It feels like it's always there.
Yeah.
And
It's hard.
And it's not necessarily like it did try and do a story, especially Ultimate.
Oh yeah,
like,
I know it does.
Did try.
Yeah.
I personally, as as somebody that likes fighting games and stuff like that, really liked seeing how over the last couple of Smash Bros. You've got more fighting game characters coming in and being able to gel in the same place.
Yeah.
And all that. So I do want to give Smash Bros. Its flowers. To the extent that, were I just picking one from this list at the start, it is the one I would have gone for. But you have swayed me about Mass Effect.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, either or, I'd be happy with. Yeah, I do. Like you say, it's that weird constant situation in the background where it's just like that you could just go on Smash Bros Ultimate and have the best time in a party and things like that. And
But I think the thing that's stopping me from going, oh no, this is definitely my top 8 out of 10 is like if I sit here and say heart of hearts, is it my favorite Smash Bros?
Yeah.
And I think we had this conversation in the review.
We've had it 17 times.
It's
not Malay.
I still can't sit here and say that it definitely is.
Yeah.
It might be. I think time will tell.
Yeah.
And I'd be really curious to see, like, in terms of time spent, Smash Bros versus Mass Effect in my world. Which one I actually
spent hours of Smash Bros. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I would wager it's Smash Bros. But I think you are right about Mass Effect.
Okay, cool. Right. I feel pretty good about that. That was a good, robust conversation. Everyone got their flowers. Brilliant. Apart from the games that didn't. 9 out of 10. So we are talking like creme de la creme here. These are probably a little bit interchangeable sometimes with the 10s, I think, in my head. There are just probably one or two things that keep them out of that top bracket. 9's quite a big bracket for us this year. So Tecmo Super Bowl, already mentioned on the Mega Drive. Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, played through on the PS2. Res Infinite, played on the VR on the MetaQuest 3S. Red Dead Redemption, you play that version on the Nintendo Switch? Did you play that? Yeah. Hitman World of Assassination, played by all of us when we did a joint podcast, me, yourself, and Fiona. Wipeout Amiga Collection for the PlayStation 4, that was a joint one, although you were lower on that by an actual score and I kind of waggled you into a 9. So we'll see how that goes. Metal Gear Solid Digital graphical novel on the PlayStation Portable. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown on the PlayStation 4, I reviewed that. Firewatch on the Xbox One, I reviewed that. TXK/Tempest 4000, but I'm saying TXK on the PS Vita was the version that I gave 9 out of 10 to. Batsugun special version. Played back on. Did you play that on Steam? But is that correct? Sorry.
Steam, Evercade, PlayStation 4. I played it.
You played it. I've been everywhere with it. You whore. Raging Blasters. Raging Blasters on the Nintendo. Is Nintendo Switch, isn't it? Is it just
Nintendo Switch and Steam and like wherever good times are had?
Shmups and Rich will be.
I have double dipped on Raging Blasters several times.
Nice. Radiant Silvergun on Xbox 360. So that's the Saturn version that's been updated to the Xbox Live version. Which I had to correct myself because I think I said it was on the Dreamcast on the podcast, and sacked I need to be. So where do we go with that?
So this, funnily enough, I nearly used a mulligan here as well at one point.
Oh, I've got one of that. No, I don't need. Oh wait, I couldn't. Yeah, to be fair, I could. Let's see how the conversation goes. I think I don't need to use it. I don't need to use it.
I nearly moved Splinter Cell down.
Okay.
Because I've played various versions of it over time, and the PS2 one is hands down the worst version of a great game.
Yeah, we shouldn't have got the score. I think, was that a free play? But I think I was really effusive about it. But then, the PS2 is the worst version, and it is so muddy. So
even just for the way it divides up levels and things like that,
because you've got
fundamentally changes how the game plays.
Yeah, you have the loading screens and stuff, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, that's fine. I mean, should we do that then? I'm happy. I agree with you completely. Let's mulligan that shit out of there, and then move that down to 8 out of 10. Still a very, very good game. I would move
it further down than that.
Holy guacamole, really?
I'd be
okay.
6s or 7s.
6s or 7s, wow, right. Oh, let me see. Do I agree? I mean, we're using my mulligan to kill a darling here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. 7. 7. I'm not having any lower than that. There we go. Right. Okay. Splinter Cell Chaos Theory is moved from a 9 to a 7 on the PlayStation 2 as a version. So that's not in the running, clearly. That's fine. There we go. I'm glad we've used our mulligan to full effect. So what we're left with here. So we've got 4 shmups, 4 shoot 'em ups, 1 digital graphical novel, 1 trilogy game, effectively, in terms of Hitman World of Assassination, almost like a live service over a 10-year period.
Yeah.
In fact, Res Infinite, I'd call that a shoot 'em up as well. So we've got quite a lot of shooters in this one. Is there anything jumping out to you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Well, yeah, there is one game in this list.
I need you to give me the decisiveness then, and I can then try and run something up against it.
Cool. Red Dead Redemption's great. It is not my pick. Batsugun, also great, not my pick.
Okay.
Raging Blasters, great, not my pick. My pick is Hitman World of Assassination.
Yeah.
In terms of, and I guess we were kind of dancing around it a little bit with Mass Effect, in terms of sheer amount of game, and for, like, you could say the same thing about Red Dead Redemption, right? It's a huge game, of course it is. You can say that about quite a few of these, like for replay value and all that kind of stuff. What I love about Hitman is how they take the same tools and the same sandboxes and the same sets of targets and all that kind of stuff, and just open it up, give you the tools, and you can be replaying the same level so many different times, but in a bunch of different ways, because you're having to go find a different person with different criteria and all that kind of stuff. And I really like the fact that they're able to carry on doing that.
Yeah.
And not only within that, they've since worked it out with like a roguelike mode. You've got the sniper mode. There's different ways of approaching it. I think they announced a co-op mode at some point, which I'm really genuinely, actually, I think excited for.
Yeah.
And I don't get excited about many games nowadays. I'm too jaded and bitter. But yeah, like Hitman World of Assassination is one of those ones that I picked up. In fact, no, I was in when they did the beta.
You did the beta,
run
didn't you? Yeah,
before the first season came out. So I've been with it since what feels like day dot.
And you've been with the whole series
and
for a
I've
long
been
time.
through the whole series for a long time, and I am still playing this frigging game.
Yeah.
I was playing it the other day when they brought the flipping Eminem stuff out on it and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, what are you talking about?
What is happening
like,
right
consider me curious enough that I will quite happily write off an hour or two to just wait in and be like, all right, convince me. And yeah, like, fair play to them. It's nuts. But the fact that they keep pulling out these little bits like that are just total curveballs, and it's got Sean Bean in it. So yeah, I think for me that's my pick.
Okay, I have no notes. No, that's my pick too.
Cool.
That is in. I know we've got a lot of stuff in here, and like you say, Red Dead Redemption, for example, and Res Infinite was just one of the most unique and fun experiences, and I felt balls to the wall thrill, and I feel balls to the wall thrill from Res Infinite and Wipeout games. Metal Gear Solid, the digital graphic novel. I think genuinely, if you can't be arsed playing through Metal Gear Solid 1, not that it's a long game or anything, but if you just want to feel Metal Gear Solid 1 again,
it's the best way to not play Metal Gear Solid.
It is the best way to enjoy the Metal Gear Solid universe, certainly in the Shadow Moses experience, without playing it, really. Prince of Persia, Firewatch, I think they're probably in the wrong bracket. I think they're probably 8 out of 10 games, if I'm going to be honest. I think I was probably over effusive, and they were both free plays, and you gave them 9s, and I think maybe I was 8/9, probably 8s in the cold light of day. So they, they're out. And then the only thing is TXK is genuinely, I think, still the best PS Vita game that I've played. I love how that feels, looks, and the fact that it feels better on the PS Vita as well than Tempest 4000 version on the PlayStation 4. That feels like such a good shooter to have on the PS Vita. To have that top-down wireframe view. My only knock on it is that it's probably been done in Tempest 2000 as well. So it's almost like, it just, because I hadn't played that first, it came as such a, wow, this is so much fun. experience. But as you said completely, and like I say, I've got no notes, so I don't need to wax lyrical about or anything. But World of Assassination, you have an entire fucking world of assassination that you can do anything in. It is the ultimate sandbox game. I was shocked actually by the number of listens that has had as a podcast for us. That is in it kind of like didn't blast past like Mass Effect blasted past that is in it. It was almost like up in the 90s like immediately. Whereas Hitman this year has just kind of gradually got more and more people listening to it over a period of time. And I'm like, and I sort of remember saying at the time that Hitman, Agent 47 didn't really have that much of a personality for me. And I still think that is possibly a knock that I might put on it. And I know that it's kind of like, well, I feel like kind of in this, to kind of try and crowbar a bit of a story in.
Yeah.
And actually, and that's why it's a 9, because if they fixed that and made that a bit more, I don't know, exciting for me, rather than the gameplay being probably perfect, really, I think, for me personally.
It's close.
Yeah.
It's close.
I think if they corrected that, it would sit up in the 10s, and that's probably where it is down here.
I think the story is certainly a million miles better than the story they tried to do in Absolution.
Yeah, okay. I wouldn't know from experience.
Yeah, so Absolution was the story focused one. Like they've all had stories, but Absolution was the more like almost like Uncharted kind of linear experience kind of thing, with the odd sandbox here and there. The way they put a story together for World of Assassination is considerably better. And not only that, like it kind of stands to reason that it would get, like the episode we were talking about, it would get people listening to it, because they've figured out a way of keeping it in the kind of consciousness.
Yeah,
all the way through.
Well, exactly. I mean,
you're right. It is almost like a live service.
I think it's 10 years old next year. In about
probably would
8
be.
months.
Yeah, 2016.
And
so,
then it's like, So it's crazy.
And here we are.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay. So we are on to our 10 out of 10 game bracket from this year. We've got 7 games in this bracket, and I think that a lot of them are joint plays, actually, which is interesting. We are going to talk through them, and then we're going to hear at the end, after we've had a conversation, from Jack, who reviewed one of the games, which was Dark Souls 3. And that was back in episode 99 when we did the Bloodborne versus Dark Souls 3. See what he's got to say for himself about that one. You reviewed Worms Armageddon and gave that a 10 out of 10 in that very short podcast, which this is definitely the second half that after the first part that fucked up, that you see if you can find the cut, guys, is longer than that podcast alone. Rare Replay, which was for the Xbox One, that I kind of reviewed, and again, that's a very strange one to put in here because it's, I can't remember how many games, like 25 games or 30 games would make sense, wouldn't it, for 30 years. And Quake for the PC, you reviewed. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, that you and Fiona reviewed together. Sorry, I said Fiona and reviewed the same word. Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, that we reviewed together between myself and you, and Fiona was in the conversation for that. And Dodonpachi Daioju Reincarnation. I think, did you play up PS4?
PS4 and Switch.
All right, okay, cool. Right, sorry, I got that wrong. That's fine. Cool. Yeah, PS4. Okay, so, is there any of those that you would not have in the 10 out of 10 bracket?
As in,
before we get to Jack's,
would take out of the equation.
Would you take
the running straight off the bat?
Yeah. Would you take any of them out? Yeah. Would you go, that is not a 10 out of 10 game for me? So therefore, even though it can stay in there, like, we don't have to move it anywhere. But
yeah, no, like I think they are all 10 out of 10s. I think the difference is that. Well, actually, no, they're not. But like, so Dodonpachi, like, I would always go to bat for this. Like, I bloody love that game. It's great. Uncharted 4 is great. I don't think it's a 10 out of 10 for me personally. Indiana Jones, ditto. I think it's close to it. I think the thing that makes it a 10 is the fact that I played it through with my wife, and so you have the nice memories of sitting there and playing it together.
Yeah.
I think Worms and Quake are the ones that for me are legit straight up 10 out of 10s, because Worms was incredibly influential when I was playing it first time round, and I still go back to it. Quake was incredibly influential on everything else the first time round, and I took a long time to get to it, and when I did, like, lo and behold, oh wow. And yeah, Dark Souls is up there for sure. But I think for me, what elevates things in this bracket and what makes them a 10 rather than 9 is that impact they've had on you personally or the wider world.
Yeah.
And
should we stop there then and listen to the impact that Dark Souls 3 had on Jack?
Sure. All right. Yep.
Okay, next voice you hear will be from Jack.
Dark Souls 3 is a masterpiece of art and deserving of the best 10 of 10 game on any list and on any year. You can come to this conclusion logically. The world is beautiful in its own dark way, whether this be the breathtaking panoramic view of Irophil or the bleakly grand yet claustrophobic halls of Firelink Shrine. The soundtrack is incredible, from the heartbreak of the returning E, D and A notes in the Soul of Cinder boss fight, through to Slave Nightingale's boss theme that somehow manages to get more and then even more epic as it builds through its 3 phases. Somehow, these pieces manage to capture the full emotional weight of years of investment and hours of struggle. The design and gameplay reward mastery, patience, and allow optimization of a wide range of builds and playstyles. This sense of achievement from completing Dark Souls 3 is hard-earned, yet thoroughly rewarding. The game's harshness is matched only by its fairness. Your success and failures are only because of what you did and did not do. The story builds and satisfyingly concludes the intriguing narrative of the first game, and the references and cameos are a fitting homage and send-off to the OG that is Dark Souls. Further, Dark Souls 3 expands on its predecessors, introducing new characters, stories and locations with a deep lore hinted at through brilliant environmental storytelling. But the real reason this game is the best is because of how it made me feel, and how it still emotionally impacts me in every playthrough. Dark Souls 3 compels the player to immerse themselves deeply into the themes of stagnation and loss, and the hopelessness that comes from the fear of change. It challenges the player to reflect on their own world, and determine for themselves whether they have the courage to rise from their own ashes. This game series inspired a skeptic of creativity and art to write D&D campaigns and learn the keyboard. It is my sincere wish that everyone gets to be a part of the Dark Souls experience, at least once. No other single piece of media has impacted me as deeply or as dearly as Dark Souls 3.
Wow. Okay. I wish I could record the noise of Rich's face right now. The look.
I've heard this before you had.
Well, I thought I'd save it from the impact of it being on the podcast. So we just paused the podcast. I listened to that in what I can only describe as the most articulated passion plea from a human being possibly ever.
Yeah,
it was a fucking thesis. That was
yeah, and I tell you what, I am not going to argue with it.
Well, no, okay,
I'm not, and because if that is not an example of what a 10 out of 10 game is. Oh, and God. That little extra secret ingredient that elevates it
it's
to
not
being
a
little
10 secret ingredient, is it? It's a life-defining odyssey.
Exactly. And we always say that 10 out of 10 is like a life-affirming experience. So, if that isn't it, then, mate, what are we fucking doing?
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, learn the keyboard. I really particularly enjoyed the line about rising from your own ashes.
Exactly.
I think that Jack said at the time he had 400 hours logged, and probably I imagine there's much more than that now. In Dark Souls 3, did he say he'd done 1,000 hours in something called Refactorio thank you very much.
Yeah.
So is Factorio better than Dark Souls 3? That's in my 4 times as much.
Well, we'll have to ask Jack one time.
Yeah, I think we will. I'm not doing this for being facetious or anything. Is there anything that we have in our 10 out of 10 category that we could cast upon the rocks of Dark Souls 3 and Jack's message to us all there that it's the most important game ever made and changed?
No, literally the best I've got is that I have Dodonpachi artwork on my phone background. That's the best I've got.
Yeah.
And granted, it is the game that or one of the games that made me appreciate the genre. But it's not on the same level that Jack was just talking about.
I mean, I'm trying to think of games that I've ever played them, and the one that kind of goes closest was how much I enjoyed the thrill of Hotline Miami, and that's never
that inspired me to kick doors in.
Yeah, I've not learned the keyboard for Hotline Miami.
Pity.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, very much a shame. I should go do that. I think that just for the conversation, that I think if I was going to put anything against it from my point of view, That is in, yeah, okay, Uncharted 4 is amazing and stuff. That isn't the rare replay collection is a cheat because there is 30 games in there. But as a collection of video games to show the life of a video game company over a period of time and have all of the quality of life trimmings that they put into that, I was floored by how much I enjoyed that experience. And if I didn't have a podcast and I didn't have children, I would sit and just play all the games on Rare Replay over and over until
until the heat death of the universe.
Exactly, yeah. So that's the only thing that I would say, and that I'm saying that knowing fine well that is not as much as what Jack has just put across for his Dark Souls 3 argument, but that's the only thing that I could say in this circumstance. And that I also really felt quite a lot about what you were saying about Dodonpachi Daiojo Reincarnation in terms of the way that the port was put together by M2 to be...
Oh, it's a thing of beauty.
Yeah, the tools they seem to have given you in that to learn a shmup and just becoming completely enveloped by that. Yeah. I was really quite stunned when you're telling me about that and thinking, and when I saw that on the 10 out of 10s, before I went back to think about how much Jack fucking loved Dark Souls 3, then I was like, oh, well, that's got a good chance.
Any other day,
yeah.
Any other day, yes, it would. And like that game in particular, yeah, it that is what makes it a 10 out of 10 for me, because like it made me see the genre in a different way. And like I knew let's call it academically, that is how you could approach it and all that kind of stuff, but I'd never really worked out a way of doing that for myself, shy of rewatching replays and stuff like that. Whereas M2 come along and go, well, hey, here's a bunch of tools that we've got that will help you learn how to play this game. And I am still learning, but just the way it's put together, it feels like an embodiment of everything that I've been trying to achieve. But did it make me go and learn the keyboard? No. Did it make me write D&D campaign? No.
That was another thing, wasn't it? Yeah, exactly. Imagine doing that and being like, like becoming an actual dungeon master who, that is on the back of a video game and having the confidence to do that.
And who, despite my bitching, it must be said, he is quite good at it as well.
Despite my bitching.
Despite my bitching, he puts up with a lot of shit from me.
Through my gritted teeth. Okay, cool. Right, I think that's a fair shout then. So 10 out of 10, game of the year for us. Brought to us by one of our guests. Lovely chap, Jack. Thank you very much for that. And for putting it in, for your input in the podcast. So let's just quickly round up then the list that we had from this year. So the 0 out of 10 game of the year, South Park. 1, Fantavision on the PlayStation 2. 2 was Pokemon Stadium on Nintendo Switch Online. 3, Chowaniki. I will not give its full title because I haven't got it written down, but it's also very difficult.
We can't.
On the PlayStation 1. 4 out of 10 is Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. That is a peace offering to Peace Walker. 5 out of 10, Super Locomotive on the Mega Drive Mini. I'm genuinely really excited to play that at some point in my life. I'm terrified of muscly trains though, so that we'll see how that goes. 6 out of 10, Daytona USA 2001. That feels so wholesome. That feels so nice in there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like I've just drank.
Happy with that pick.
Yeah, I feel like I've just drank a whole bottle of Sunny Delight, saying that out loud. 7 out of 10. Again, more fun and you love for Sega. Virtua Tennis 4 World Tour on the PlayStation Vita. We do for as well. You're much fitter than me, but as much as we used to like playing sports and stuff, I do like sports and I do like sports games, and that's one that I absolutely loved. 8 out of 10. We went with Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Just the gravitational pull of that was just too much. I think maybe it just destroyed other games around it. 9 out of 10. That I think this is my personal sort of game of the year in terms of not just scoring and stuff, but just like as a podcast, our sponsor, if you will,
came together.
And the fun and joy that we had with Hitman: World of Assassination. Well done, you, Agent 47. And then 10 out of 10. The best game that has been played by this podcast this year and reviewed is Dark Souls 3. So I feel pretty good doing that exercise again as usual.
Yeah, pretty happy with that. I think I would love to get a fighting game in there one day.
What's that is in what would have stood a chance in any of these categories then? Fatal Fury, maybe that was that. Yeah,
maybe. I mean, Street Fighter 6 the other year would have.
But you kind of had that down. I think if you'd given that a 9 out of 10 rather than 10 out of 10 at the time, maybe that would have had more of a chance. Maybe.
Yeah.
But
must try harder.
So we're not going to be back again next week, guys. So we're going to have a week off. Just because I'm going to be honest, it's Christmas. It's nice to have a little bit of time off. We've run at 2 hours that we said we weren't going to do for this podcast. So just split it. Take your time over this one. I think last year, I remember there being a massive dearth in the week between Christmas and New Year anyway, because
who's not a surprise.
Yeah, who's socially listening to podcasts during that week, you know. So, yeah, we're going to take a week off, and then we'll come back in January with hashtag. I can't say it. Hashtag drive January. Although hashtags are kind of dead, I've noticed on Instagram. You can't use a certain number. It's really weird. So maybe just drive January. 2025, 2026 edition.
2025 edition. I see. We'll just rerun them.
Yeah, so we'll just play lots of vehicular games is probably the best. I can't
remember what's on the list.
I think, you know, something.
Oh, I've just remembered 2 of them that are on the list, and yes, they don't have wheels.
Yeah, so if you can like drive it forwed, it'll be one of the games. It
involves propulsion of some kind and forward momentum.
It's very vague. And we've got a couple of other specials planned when we come round to say our 3rd birthday and things like that. So keep an eye out for them. And yeah, thank you so much for listening this year. We really have. Again, not too much navel gazing, but the last 9 months especially, we've seen a real bump up in listens from people. And again, that wouldn't come, you know, that isn't, we don't do a lot of work necessarily for the podcast, I don't think. But
well, I don't, you do.
Okay, right, well, I don't do that much work either. So, you know, collectively, there can't be that much going on. But we love interacting with people, and we love the fact that people like listen to us. And some of the nicest comments that we get is that it's just like being down the pub with your mates. So, and it is.
Yeah, that's the aim of the game.
Yeah. So, and that's why we do it. So thank you once again. Happy Christmas and Happy New Year, and we will speak to you in 2026.
Ooh, cheers.